Hi, I'm Starborn. Remember, to be a star, you have to shine your own light, follow your own path, and not be afraid of the darkness, because that's when stars shine brightest. If you've been looking at our webpage, starborninstitute.org, you would already know that the title of tonight's show is A Higher Truth. And the reason why we're going to be discussing what a higher truth means to all of us in this next week is because we're going to be talking about a wonderful solar eclipse, a very powerful one that is occurring at 11 degrees of Scorpio on Sunday. And it is powerful for a variety of reasons, so we're going to go over those just to have you be really, really sure of just what this solar eclipse means to all of us. And a solar eclipse generally lasts for about 6 months. So some of the things I'm talking about tonight, it doesn't mean that they're going to occur right at the time of the solar eclipse, although some of them could. It does mean they can sort of unfold during the next 6-month period. And that higher truth that we're talking about is because the sun and the moon are in Scorpio at 11 degrees. 11 is a very high number. It's never reduced to 2. And that is because 11 is the number of genius, of people ahead of their time, of people who are very high-minded. So it is actually the soul number of many of the great religious leaders throughout time. And for that reason, it is a prophetic number. That 11 number where the sun and the moon are mean that there is something regarding our finances and our future that involves following a higher truth. And that is because Scorpio is loaded under this solar eclipse. There aren't just the sun and the moon there, there are 4 planets there. And they are all conjuncting each other. Mercury is retrograde in Scorpio at 8 degrees, the sun and the moon are at 11 degrees, and Saturn is at 14 degrees. So all 4 planets are so closely conjunct each other within their orbits that the force of those 4 planets together cannot be broken. A conjunction occurs between 2 planets when they are in their orbits and within 7 degrees of the same measurement, and all 4 of these planets are within 6 degrees or less. And so that simply means that Scorpio is a very powerful sign under this solar eclipse, and it rules the traditional 8th house of death and regeneration. So if you've been a little down in the dumps, or if you've got some problems that really need your attention right now, it could be that you need to work on them in order to rise again, in order to have a better life. And that's a good reason to work on problems and try to get them solved. Scorpio rules it rules the military, it rules the whole medical field, particularly surgery, it rules the insurance industry as well, and above all, it rules survival and it rules justice. So a higher truth might be something that we say in everyday life, and that is what goes around comes around, because that simply means if you know somebody that's been getting away with something for a very long time, now is when the buck stops and they could be held accountable for their actions. And so we see that there are 4 powerful planets in Scorpio very close together, and so they're forming a shield of power that cannot be broken. Another reason why they're powerful, though, is because they're being beautifully fortified. Jupiter in Cancer is trining all 4 planets, and Neptune in Pisces is also trining them. So there are actually 6 planets in the water signs, and all water signs rule our feelings. And so this solar eclipse has something to do with a higher truth that deals with how we feel about people, and it deals with our relationships. In other words, this is a real good time for you to try to understand who it is that's really important to you, and ask yourself just how important they are. Because if they're real important, you may want to provide for them or help them out. Scorpio rules inheritance, and it rules money coming in from any other source. So it could be money coming from an income tax refund, because Scorpio does rule taxes, or from better credit, because Scorpio not only rules credit, it rules loans and it rules debt. And also, since it rules inheritance, it can be that you may be thinking about your family members right now and thinking about setting up some provision for them in the future. And because Neptune in Pisces is trining all the planets in Scorpio, you may be thinking of how to finance a dream, to make a dream come true. So there's all kinds of higher truths that you do need to sort out right now. There's another reason why this solar eclipse is so powerful, and that is because it's well protected. In other words, Scorpio has two rulers, Mars and Pluto. Mars is now in Virgo, sextiling all the planets in Scorpio, and Mars is at 11 degrees, the same degree as the sun and the moon. It's in perfect alignment with that. Mars in Virgo means that people can be looking closely at facts and details and wanting a lot of accountability right now. That Mars is trining Pluto, Scorpio's other ruler, which is at 9 degrees of Capricorn. So the rulers of the sign are sextiling the sign and all the planets in it. There are 6 planets right like that are all reinforcing each other, and that makes it awfully powerful. On top of that, there are no planets in any of the other fixed signs. There is nothing stopping this solar eclipse. So now is a time for all of us to search for a higher truth. In a financial sign, that simply means that no one can borrow forever. And debt is a penalty or a fine that you give yourself, and it can sink you. And the reason why is that when you borrow, you have to pay an interest charge. That interest charge is the penalty or the fine, and you're the one asking for it. And so this is a time when we really have to simplify our lives, and we have to, sort of downsize and live within our means or below our means, not beyond them, so that we can save money not only to pay down debt, but so that we can save money to really have the things that are important to our loved ones or to us. And so we really need to think of reassessing your financial position in light of the current financial position in the world. Everybody's got to take a little closer look at where the money is coming from or going to, because there is too much debt. And we've got to get out of it because we've got to survive. So the aspects to the solar eclipse are excellent, and that is because, as I said, there are 6 planets in the water signs all trining each other. There are 6 planets, the 4 in Scorpio, and then Scorpio's rulers flanking that sign, so they're all reinforcing each other. And then there are no squares or oppositions to the solar eclipse at all. But there is an aspect we still have to watch out for, and it is that, remember I said Pluto was at 9 degrees of Capricorn. And under the new moon on Sunday, which is the solar eclipse, Uranus will be at exactly 9 degrees of Aries. Both of these planets, Pluto and Uranus, are in perfect square to each other. That is not good news. That means that the square is so tight, something's going to have to give. And so, since Uranus is retrograde right now, and there are 3 retrograde planets, Uranus in Aries, Neptune in Pisces, and Mercury in Scorpio. When there are retrograde planets, it means that people should go back and tie up loose ends or finish things. Finishing is particularly important right now because Pluto is at 9 degrees and so is Uranus, and 9 is the number of finishing. And so somebody could be finished right now. And the reason why is that if you know somebody who has been going along and doing things exactly the way they want to do them, whether they follow the rules or not, and they've been sort of getting away with that, this is a time now when another person or a group or an entity, even a government agency, could come along and say, wait a minute. You've done it one too many times, you've broken rules, you're not really following policies, and for that reason, somebody, I think, who has been negligent about policies or rules or regulations and has sort of been doing everything their own way, may be crushed right now. Remember, it's Pluto that's the really strong planet. It's part of these 6 planets that are all sextiling each other. And so that Pluto could really knock off that Uranus, since they are both so harshly squaring each other. And that simply means that somebody who has been getting away with something has just run out of rope, and it means they will be crushed. And it's their career that will be crushed, because Pluto is in Capricorn, and Capricorn does rule the traditional 10th house of career and public reputation. So somebody's going to have to start over, and so I hope that's not you, but it could have a residual effect on people, because if there is just somebody that is suddenly gone, other people may have to compensate for that in one way or another. All right, what does this idea of a higher truth mean to all 12 of the sun signs? Well, Aries, remember I was just talking about the fact that Uranus in your sign is precisely squaring Pluto in Capricorn, which is very strong right now. It's one of Scorpio's rulers, and the solar eclipse is reinforcing it. And so I would say, Aries, that you could be in a little bit of trouble if you have been just doing everything the way you want rather than the way organizations have been instructing you to do. And if you've been getting away with it, if you have tried it one last time in, say, the last month or so, that would be the time that was the tipping point, and you could really be held accountable not only for that time, but for all the others as well. And your career could be in jeopardy. It may not be anything that you would feel personally about, but somebody could come along and say something like, well, due to budget cuts, we'll have to let you go. And that could be the easy way out. Or they could decide to get really tough on you, and that would be costly to your reputation, because after all, your sign does rule new starts. There's no doubt you could make a new start, Aries. That's the good news. The bad news is that you could be absolutely crushed by somebody who comes along and says, you know, hold it. You are accountable not only for this, but for everything else as well. And that could really affect you in one way or another, Aries. So I hope you're trying to be extra good right now. All right, what does it mean to a Taurus? Well, Taurus, I think that this solar eclipse with those 4 planets in Scorpio all opposing your sun is going to bowl you over, Taurus. Absolutely bowl you over. And the reason why is, think of it as, since Scorpio is a water sign, think of it as a tsunami wave headed your way that can just overwhelm you right now, Taurus. So I think that there is a financial problem that involves higher truth that you will certainly have to face. You may have to sell something, because it could be just nothing more than the high cost of living. And a Taurus who works very hard likes to have the best of everything, but that costs money. And so there can be a major tax problem headed your way, or a credit problem. In other words, if you've been living beyond your means rather than below your means, this is the time when you can be overwhelmed with how much debt you have or what it is costing you. And I think that that can present a big problem for you, because I don't think that somebody else who comes along is going to be sympathetic with whatever you have done or however many bills you have accrued. And the reason why is that those 4 planets in Scorpio denote somebody of maturity or who has a lot of experience and really can see a higher truth and can help people survive. And that is what is going to be on all of our minds. Real survival, not just financial survival, but how are we going to survive personally and emotionally and in our relationships. So there's a lot going on right now, and that's why we have to choose a higher path. So if you've been at all self-indulgent, or if you have sort of outspent yourself right now, Taurus, you will be overwhelmed by someone else who's coming along who is extremely well qualified and certainly is not overextended and really knows what they're doing. And I think they will just bowl you over. It's very lucky that Mars is in Virgo trining your sun and Pluto is in Capricorn trining your sun. And that means that, for instance, you could be bowled over by a medical problem, and you would be bowled over by the high cost of having to fix some sort of health problem right now. So that too could be bothering you. But with Mars and Pluto trining each other and trining your sun as well, it simply means that through a lot of application to, doing everything right now and really watching the details, I think that you can rework your finances in some way, and I think you will have to. Okay, what does it mean to a Gemini? Well, Gemini, this is simply an unusual time when there are no planets in any of the air signs. So there's nothing in your sign, Libra or Aquarius. And that means under this solar eclipse, Gemini, that there is no way you can put some sort of good spin on your financial problems. You will really have to take a look at your financial assets and your liabilities. And I think since there are 3 retrograde planets, one of which is Mercury, your own sign, and it is in Scorpio, you're going to have to go back and fix a problem. You may have to borrow more money, but that would not be a good idea. What I suggest for everyone is that they sell something and get some money to help pay down bills so that you can rejuvenate and start over again. And so Gemini, you really need to look at everything. I wouldn't trust a lot of people right now, Gemini. Mars in Virgo is squaring your sun, Neptune in Pisces is squaring your sun, and Venus in Sagittarius is still opposing your sun, but it won't be. It's going to move on in a couple of days. So this is a time when there is no way that you can talk yourself out of some sort of financial matter that needs to be addressed. You just are going to have to stop and fix something right now. And it would be financially related. It may be something you just need to catch up on and finish off, and that would be a good idea. Okay, what does it mean to a Cancer? Well, Cancer, I can say it short and sweetly. The money is there, Cancer. That's what this solar eclipse with the 4 planets in Scorpio means to you. And that's because you have Jupiter in your sign. So Neptune in Pisces is trining your sign, and all 4 planets in Scorpio are doing that as well. And that simply means, since Scorpio does rule money coming from others, that it could be coming to you. In fact, I'm sure of it. And it may be more than you think, Cancer. And that is because money could have been delayed for a while and the value of it could have risen. Or it can be that your assets have risen and this would be a good time to cash in on them. So the money really is there. You do richly deserve it. And I think that that can enhance the many blessings in your life right now, Cancer. So I think that you can breathe a sigh of relief as the money is really there for you. Okay, what does it mean to a Leo? Well, Leo, this is simply a time when I think that, you will have to seek a higher truth right now, and it is going to be about money. And that higher truth can be boiled down to the fact that no one can borrow forever. Nobody can. A government can't, and neither can a person, and neither can a company. And so that solar eclipse in Scorpio, it has Mercury, the Sun, Moon, and Saturn all squaring your sun, Leo. And that simply means that you really have to look closely at any debt or the possibility of higher taxes, because I think since eclipses last for 6 months, I think that there is the possibility, Leo, that you will have to pay out more than you're thinking of in the next 6 months. It may be because loan costs are higher. It may be because your debts are higher. It may be because taxes are a lot higher. In other words, what if you made a lot of money? Then you'd owe even more taxes. But I do think you're going to be paying out instead of bringing in. And that is why you need to simplify your life and you need to live below your means. In other words, since Leos are very generous people, you're going to have to pull in your belt a little bit, Leo, and not be quite so open-hearted and generous. Try to save some money because you are really going to need it. And that is because there's no getting around the fact that there just isn't enough money anymore. These are not the good old days. But the bills are still there, and the interest is still there, and the taxes are still there. And that is why, even if you were thinking of getting an inheritance, it may not be as much as you think. That's why you need to conserve right now. Okay, what does it mean to a Virgo? Well, Virgo, this is a time when you can certainly be hard at work in one way or another. But I would say that you're sure doing the right thing for the right people, Virgo, even if you are having to work really hard. And I think you're terribly worried about things. Your sign does rule details, and it does rule accounting. And people are going to have to be accounting for their expenses and their income right now in light of current financial conditions. And that is because they can be fluctuating worldwide. And we all want to get through life in a secure way. And yet you don't have that much to worry about, Virgo, because Mars in your sign, which can make you very hardworking and worried now, and even sort of cranky. And you need to work on getting yourself in a good mood, Virgo, because I don't think you're really in one right now, and that's because you've got your mind on too many things. But that Mars in your sign is trining Pluto in Capricorn, which symbolizes management in government agencies or corporations who like you very much. These two planets are trining each other. So you might be working really hard for your boss right now. But actually, that is going to get you a lot of accolades. And the reason why is that these planets that are right in front of you, yours, the 4 in Scorpio and then Pluto in Capricorn, make up a very strong shield of power and truth. And what I think that means for you, Virgo, is that I think you're going to start to join more powerful people. It might be that you sit on a committee. It might be that you are working with more powerful people or for them. And at some time in the next 6 months, you certainly are due to get promoted because of that. So you won't always be quite so under quite so much stress right now, Virgo, because I think you're actually going to be joining a more powerful group. And the reason why is because people are really relying on how dutiful you are and how detailed you are. And when people are looking at money and trying to change things around and make a better life for themselves, every penny counts. And that's why your services can be extremely valuable now. Okay, what does it mean to a Libra? Well, Libra, remember I said there aren't any planets in the air signs, and they're not. And yet, that solar eclipse is happening right in front of your sign, Libra. So you can see that somebody is quietly, in fact, so quietly that people are not even aware of how strong somebody is right now, and committed and determined. They are committed to justice. They don't mind if someone is crushed, if they've been asking for it, because what goes around comes around. But they're also very committed to survival, and it's not just their survival, it's a lot of people's survival, particularly their loved ones. So you can see somebody who is determined to succeed. And it would be succeeding financially, but it would be for the benefit of all, not just for themselves. So I think that you are going to be somewhat in the background right now, Libra, and I don't think that there are a lot of new ideas around on how to solve problems. So instead, I think you should listen to others that are very committed to solving them, because they could have some good answers for you. And I think that you can suffer in a residual way from the fact that Pluto and Uranus and Aries are squaring each other, because Uranus is opposing your sun sign and Pluto is squaring it. And so if somebody is crushed and held accountable for their past indiscretions, that could affect you in one way or another. It may be somebody you know. Okay, what does it mean to a Scorpio? Well, Scorpio, this fabulous solar eclipse is in your sun sign on Sunday, and there is nothing stopping you, Scorpio, at all. There are no planets in the other fixed signs. There's nothing challenging, squaring, or opposing your sun sign. And there are 4 planets in your sun sign, and your rulers are flanking them on each side and trining each other. And there are planets in the other water signs trining your sign as well. So this is the green light you've been waiting for, Scorpio. And it simply means that very, very quietly and in a deeply committed way, you could be following a higher truth. And that higher truth would have something to do with what you're good at, which is money management. And it can be that you will be in a position to help many people survive. And because you have experience, you would be able to do that. So if you're taking on the mantle of responsibility, you are well equipped for it. And also, no one can attack you, Scorpio. Your flanks are covered. You're going to be able to go forward on all fronts. And that is good. We have to remember your sign does rule war. And since it is a water sign, it could be a naval war that starts, and I don't see any winners in it except you, Scorpio. And so Scorpio rules Russia. So we have to be a little bit careful and watch and see what Russia does right now, because it's ready to go on something. And so Scorpio, right now, you too can be ready to go. And I think that you have been waiting for this all of your life. You know you can take on a heavy burden. You know exactly what you're doing, and you're doing it for a higher power or a higher truth, and that means you are really going to succeed, Scorpio, so good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Sagittarian? Well, Sagittarius, Venus is still in your sign, but actually the action is right behind your sign, Sagittarius, and that is because the solar eclipse is with 4 planets is right behind your sun sign, and that means a lot of people are getting a look at your debts or your taxes. There's a lot of light on all of that right now, or on a possible inheritance. So it's money matters that you need to focus on, Sagittarius. And if there have been any little deceptions, you will be held accountable for those. So you may have to redo your finances in one way or another, because the bills could be pretty high. And that's why you're going to have to downsize in one way or another. But I think you can be happy about, you can do it, Sagittarius. You just may not want to, but you can do it. Okay, what does it mean to a Capricorn? Well, Capricorn, this is simply a time when you are very powerful, and that is because you've got a whole lot of planets behind you that are backing you up and sextiling your sign. The danger is that Uranus is squaring Pluto in your sun sign, and yet the ball is in your court, Capricorn. You do know what the truth is, you do know what the policies and rules and regulations are, and you do not mind holding somebody accountable, because something has to stop somewhere, and you're the person that's got the answers and that can do that. And so there could be a departure in your life, Capricorn, but you would not feel badly about that. In fact, you would feel that justice was being done, and if you had helped that in any way, you would be mighty proud of that, because that simply means that fewer people would be hurt by somebody else that had been breaking the rules. Okay, what does it mean to an Aquarian? Well, Aquarius, this is simply a time when I think that you're going to have to back up and sell something, because all the planets in Scorpio are squaring your sun, and there aren't any planets in any of the other air signs. So I don't think you've got fortification anywhere, and it does mean you have to look at the bills, the debts, the taxes, and simply the high cost of living. And I say sell, Aquarius. Get out from under, because you can always start again. And there can be people at a distance who are very fond of you. You might have to move somewhere else, Aquarius, but I advise you to do that, because moving is extremely well aspected. You could sell something and get the money to do that. Okay, what does it mean to a Pisces? Well, Pisces, the solar eclipse does trine your sun, which is wonderful, because that means there could be money to help you make a dream come true, Pisces. But it also means that nobody can kid themselves about money anymore, particularly not about spending it or being overspent and in debt. And people could be asking you for a pretty tight accounting of things right now, Pisces, because Mars in Virgo is opposing your sun. But there are 6 planets in water signs right now, so you can get a lot of sympathetic support, and you can come up with the answers. So you may have to whittle away your debts right now, but that would put you in a good credit position eventually, Pisces, and that may allow you to do something like move or buy a home, and I think you might have that on your mind. All right, thanks so much for tuning in. I want to wish everyone a happy Halloween, and remember, you can see the show anytime you want on our website, starborninstitute.org. Bye.